Hello, and welcome to the Undercovers podcast. I'm Ben along with Paul and Connor, and tonight we have the pleasure of being joined by Dean, who is from Buffalo fan base and also does big boards for Fanspeak. So, Dean, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. Excited to talk some draft with you.
Oh, this is what it's all about. What are we like 16 days out?
Yes, 16
Yes.
days out. So,
Oh,
16
it's
very
very
long days. I'm so
very
excited.
exciting though, because I mean we've seen some visits from the Bills pop up and some private workouts. So, hopefully, after spending some time with you, we kind of get a better picture of who the Bills are targeting in just 16 days away now.
yeah. This is kind of an interesting time too, because you have everything you hear in the next 16 days will be obfuscation, lies,
Oh yeah.
misdirection, and what I'm trying to do is put a little bit of analysis into it and say, okay, what are the Bills signaling um, by where they sent their scouts this year and who they're inviting, all of that stuff. That's why I made a column on this year's spreadsheet called 2024, and that is different people have been at different games. And for instance, if there's a game with one scout, they get 1 point. If Bean is there, like he was, at South Carolina, they get 3 points extra. If Joe
Okay.
Brady or Bobby Babbitt show up at a game, it's 2 points extra. Shrine gets you 2 points. Senior Bowl gets you 3 points. The McDermott, Aranda, or Diaz connection gets you 3 points. Combine meeting 2 points. Pro day attendance 2 points. We had a position coach go to Arkansas, and I believe it was the defensive line coach. So they would get 2 points for that. If they meet at the combine, 2 points. If they attend the pro day, 2 points, and a 30 visit is 5 points. So now we've got Trey Amos, uh, number 35 on the board at 16 right here.
Oh wow.
And and basically they've seen him for a 30 visit, combine visit. They went to the Kentucky Ole Miss game. He did very well in that game, as did others: Trey Harris, Chris Paul, Deion Walker, Walter Nolan. Um, they went to the Shrine, and he gets 4 points just because he's a round 1 and 2. That's the fudge factor for players that don't necessarily go to all the stuff at the end of the year. So he's an SEC, um, Old Miss, and then Nick Imanmori up at 27. He is an SEC guy. They seem to be focusing there and the Big Ten. 14 points for Simmons, 14 points for Derek Harmon. So that kind of takes you through round one. You can see who they're looking at and what might be the way they would go next.
Mhm.
What if they took Trey Amos at 30? What would happen next? Let's scroll down to about 56. So here is where I think Bean is going to use one of the later picks to trade up. If he were interested in Landon Jackson, because they sent the defensive line coach to that spot, he's the edge at Arkansas. He has 15 points there. JT Tuimoloau also is in the card deck because he's got a 17 there. And those two would probably be if they didn't go safety right away, those would be a good choice. Xavier Watts, safety, is a free safety. I think they need a strong safety. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Mhm.
Defense wins championships, Dean. The more the merrier.
That's right. That's right. One interesting development is some interest in the Ohio State running backs, Quinshon Judkins and Tre'Davian Henderson.
Okay,
It would not
interesting.
surprise me if they were one of the 3 picks. I hope they wait and take one of the big backs that's day 3 because they've seen some of those as well. The JT Tuimoloau had the better interview. I've listened to interviews of 300, 400 players, and I just like the interview that JT gave more than Landon Jackson.
Okay.
So that's what my grading is there. The one, if it's in yellow, like this Benjamin Morrison one, that means it was one of the best in the class. So Benjamin Morrison's interview was one of the best in class. He didn't get as many scout score points because of injury, I think. The hip injury probably had a factor there, and it also probably had a factor in his weight. He could add some pounds, and chicken wings will do that
for sure.
So the only other one I want to say is I kept doing simulations and finding that I was choosing TJ Sanders a lot.
Okay,
For
interesting.
the probably for the second pick, the Diggs trade pick,
Right.
At 56, because very often he was gone by 62. Let me scroll down a little. We'll see what might be available at 62. There's another one of those yellow A+++, and that was the interview that Trey Harris gave. But they really are solid there with Alfred Collins and Isaiah Bond. The 19 is the highest, I believe, in the whole day 1, day 2. That's the highest one.
I mean,
They also must like Josiah Stewart because they've been following him for more than 1 year. I could uncover 2023 and show you the switches here, but he's got a 13 there. So I think it's Collins, Stewart, and Bond with this pick. The other thing I'd love to see them do is trade down.
Sure.
Trade down one of these two, and there are teams that don't have very many picks.
Like I think Minnesota is one of them, right? I believe they only have like 4 selections this draft, if I'm not mistaken, Dean.
Yeah, Atlanta and Arizona have very few picks as well.
Okay.
Let's see if I can pop that information up here. I think you see it now.
Yes. Yes.
So you have Tennessee Titans. Forget them; they're drafting first. But keep in mind that they only have 2 top 100 picks.
Okay.
So even though they have 8 picks in all, they only have 2 top 100 picks.
Right, because I believe one of those picks went for L'Jarius Sneed, right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. The needs per NFL.com as of a week ago are that 4th column there, and you can see what's going to go right before our pick is always entertaining.
Right.
Here are the Atlanta, Arizona, and then maybe the Vikings because they only have 4 picks and 2 in the top 100. It's not that I think they would like to acquire picks and might give up their 3rd rounder to gain some more players.
More draft cap.
Sure, for sure. I mean, I see Tampa only has 6 picks as well, so I mean that might be another team, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. And they have the 21 pick in the 2nd round and the 20 pick in the 3rd round. Those could do some damage.
For sure.
If we get into that 3rd round, let me go back to what is here. I'm in the wrong. There we go. All right. So now let's look at 109. Who gets to 109 is going to be a big question because if you knew that in advance, you'd go, well, I'll just take Kevin Winston at 109. Well, no, you won't. maybe Pooh Paul will be. No, he won't either. So let's go down to 109 here. This would be wonderful if all of this happened. The numbers that are high here are Tez Johnson, Barrett Carter, Ty Robinson, and you can decide whether he's a defensive lineman or an edge. And I think that's the beauty of him. He's had 17.5 combined sacks and tackles for loss in 2024, and that's he's next to Nash Hutmacher, a one tech that I like is a day 3 or preferred free agent. Vernon Broughton and Xavier Restrepo right here actually have more scout score points than Ty Felton. Ty Felton's the darling, but I'm not really sure we need another slot. And I understand why Restrepo is, one of the guys that has more weight behind his small size. So that might be the thing.
Just kind of a quick question on Restrepo. Do you see? I know, disappointing 40 time at the pro day, but do you see a little Lad McConkey in him? Maybe a little shorter, but I mean, I feel like route running, it kind of reminds me of McConkey a bit.
There's you got the separation, you got the elusiveness, and reliability. I don't think he's missed too many games.
Right.
So that would
stability.
Be that's the availability of being an ability is really
huge.
Yep.
I wrote a thing called My Pet Cats, and I published it yesterday on BuffaloFanbase.com, and Vernon Broughton was one of my favorite players on that list, and it was because of the rapid ability to generate pressure. So I think that they see that they have with people like Mahomes getting the ball out in under 3 seconds. You have to generate pressure right away,
right,
to get him off his spot, because that's when he becomes human.
And especially last year, I feel like that was an area, for a majority of the season, interior pressure was lacking with the Bills' pass rush, and we saw the Super Bowl how Milton Williams and Jalen Carter were able to just make Mahomes super uncomfortable all night. So I think that would be huge to add to the defense.
That would be huge. Now I'm going to upset at least a couple of my friends because they're on the Trey Amos train and can't see beyond Trey Amos. There are two on this. There are two at this pick. It could be there, Noel Williams and Denzel Burke, that actually play in the system that the Bills do. At least Denzel Burke does, and wonderful personality, and he has the 16 scout score there. You see the instincts, awareness, long speed, size. That's probably a really good plus for him. I think he's going to be one of those players that ends up being a Dane Jackson, and I don't mean that in a negative way.
Sure.
I meant just a tackling machine kind of
guy.
132. This is getting down to where who was picked is going to be huge, because are you looking at the high score here? Jamari Caldwell from Oregon. That was Harmon's sidekick. It'd be cool to get them both.
Right.
I think that in order to get a defensive stalwart, you have to take him in the first round. If you do that, then you're not getting your choice of cornerback. So you better be really, really sure about one of those two. The reason I'm saying all that is that Zy Alexander is sitting here too, and he might actually get to your second, fourth round pick. I thought that Noel Williams would be here, but he's starting to climb the board. And that's important to know because when Zy Alexander came from Southeast Louisiana, he instantly became an excellent, like, number 2 among all cornerback draft prospects in solo tackles per game. Guess who his coach was in 2023? Jamil Adai, and that's the Bills DB coach now.
Oh, wow. So
keep that one in mind. He comes from DB University there, and he put up 4 tackles and a PBU in the scouted game against Florida. So that was one of the guys that I thought. His nickname, teammates gave him, is the Silent Assassin. And
wow,
and
that would be a great addition to the Bills secondary.
Yeah,
especially with a nickname like that.
Yes, the Silent Assassin. So Jamari Caldwell, right there. I like Jamari Caldwell. I like Zy Alexander, depending on what you did earlier. And the other one that if you haven't taken your safety yet, look at Jalen Reed from Penn State. You know, he's the free safety. Again, I'd rather get a strong safety for future growth, but they seem to like Jalen Reed, and possibly it's because he's 211 in terms of weight, and that's a good size for a 4-4 safety. So he could play either one. He's done robber. He's played robber. He's played deep safety. He's done pass rush. He's done it all. So maybe they see him.
Kind of a follow-up question to that, Dean. Yeah. I know there was some news today from Ryan Talbot that the Bills had dinner with Billy Bowman. Would this be a spot around for him to go? Where do you have him?
Yeah. I wrote Bills instead of Billy. What?
I love it.
Yeah. So I have Billy Bowman at 127. So that would be exactly where he would go. And I think I've already noted that. Yeah. Met with Bills at Pro Day, met with the Bills for dinner the night before the Pro Day. 3 jet visits. The Oklahoma versus Tennessee game, he did really well. They went to his Pro Day, and of course he gets 4 points for being the Senior Bowl. So that adds up. Again, another SEC guy, and he does kick return as well. So
that would definitely be some versatility, because I know the Bills love their versatile players.
Yeah, and that would be huge. So the only reason we didn't see him is that he was just above Quincy Riley there. So some of the players that were people's darlings just haven't had the scout eyeballs on them. So that's another reason why it was fun to do this year. Do you want me to keep going 169, or is this interesting?
No, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I know you talked about kind of about a few different options in the defensive line, but obviously last year the run defense was an issue at times for the Bills. Who do you like, I guess, for them to put that, or to fill that need? I know you mentioned Broughton, Caldwell. For betting odds, that's the favorite for the first round pick, as a defensive lineman or edge. You think that would be a safe bet? One of those two players.
Yes. If let's look at just defensive line, because
sure,
that would be really helpful. Watch me sort this. I'm going to sort it high to low. Here are the players, and what I think we just got a visit with Tyleik Williams, did we not? He's going to be a 30 visit.
I think so.
I believe so. Yes.
There you go. So number one is Tyleik Williams. Number 2 is Derek Harmon.
Okay, interesting.
And number 3 is Farmer, and then Kenneth Grant. Of the ones that you'd take early.
So you would even have Farmer. You think Farmer could be a sneaky pick for number 30 even? Or would that be
I actually have him at 63, and there's not really a reason for that. you know, he actually did pretty well in terms of sacks. You know, career sacks. He has 10.5. Omar Norman Lott has 13.5. Tyleek has 11.5. So Tyleek scores well there, and for guys with size and speed, you can't do much better than Tyleek Williams or
For sure.
Eric Harmon. So those two, you know, with Kenneth Grant, you lose a little speed, but you have size. He hasn't gotten home as often as those other guys, Farmer and Williams. So that's going to be the name of the game is getting home, and both McDermott and Bean have said as much. So you're kind of looking for green all the way across in this thing without any red. So that's kind of the motivation here. I probably shouldn't have used turquoise. I probably should have used a darker green. But let's keep those numbers in mind. 15s are what you have, and Tyleek Williams could be had with a 44. And I just saw how the Bills could get Amos and Tyleek Williams in a recent tweet. So I was really intrigued with that possibility. Okay, here's the cornerbacks. Denzel Burke, number 1, 16. Jordan Hancock, you know, Ohio State got the most eyeballs of any team except Clemson, I believe, and South Carolina was right up there too. But what if the Bills went up and got Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron? You know,
I mean, they definitely have the draft capital to do so.
Yeah, yeah. So
what are we at? 10 or 11 picks right now.
I think 11. 10. Oh, it was 10.
We have
10.
we have So there are two 4th rounders, 3 5th rounders, and 2 6th rounders, and we will not be taking 10 players. So
yes,
I can guarantee it. That would be the surprise of the century is if we had 10 new players here.
Sure.
So,
I have a really quick question for you, Dean.
Please.
One, I think your screen might be a little stuck because as you talk and try to switch players, switch tabs, it's just stuck on the. There we go.
There we go.
Now
Perfect.
it's working.
Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you. To tell me, you got to realize, you know, that I'm so involved in this that I'm not paying attention where it says share this tab instead.
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're good. You just kept talking and we kept enjoying it. So we just didn't want to cut you off in a bad spot. So we're all just sitting here enjoying all the draft content you're bringing. But my question is that, you know, there's players like, you know, Isaiah Bond, you know, there's rumors about Isaiah Bond and his character issues. You know, he's been highly thought of in the Bills organization over the last little while. You know, 30 visits, pro day visits, you know, everything else. Do you feel like that will fear the Bills not taking Isaiah Bond? And who are there some of these other players that are on your list? You're kind of, well, maybe not draft this guy because of some character issues.
Right. Well, the two that are on the screen now that had the best interviews were Tez Johnson and Trayshawn Holden. Tez Johnson is a slot guy. I'm not sure that fits. Right. Trayshawn Holden probably will be available as a free agent or your final pick if you wanted to do that. And the other guys, the one I thought was not as interesting an interview was Arian Smith, and they're bringing him, or they had some interest announced today by Talbot, I think.
Yes, I believe you're correct on Smith.
Yeah, And what's really intriguing to me is there's a score of an 11 for Luther Burden, a score of 11 for Savion, excuse me. And both of them are X receivers, and Trayshawn Holden. So there's a chance we'll get two of those. Maybe one would even be after the draft that you would get a 452 guy. Remember, Gabe Davis was a 452 guy. So
right.
he stuck with the Bills for quite a while.
Sure.
That he did.
One of the things that they might take into consideration, if you're talking about taking a guy with some issues, is Brew McCoy, Tennessee. He's really, really old, so he's going to drop and probably be available after the draft. But against AP ranked teams, he with a minimum of 10 catches, he has the best ranks against 16.5 yards per catch against AP ranked teams. So and he's a substantial in size. He's not Savion Williams, but he's I wouldn't cross off Burden, and I wouldn't cross off Savion Williams. I wouldn't want Burden to be our first pick. That's the only thing. I'd want a defensive lineman first, then trade up, trade back up in. If we get 3 second-round picks, I think that he's in the discussion there.
Sure.
Dean, could you repeat that for Paul again, to not want to take a wide receiver in round 1?
Yeah. So there are enough people like Isaiah Bond that would be available in the second round. I don't believe that Bond is going to be a first rounder.
Golden most likely will be, though, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was Paul's dreams.
If I can switch this off, this might answer your question as well. The scouted players, what position do they play?
Oh, that's perfect.
There are 16 wide receivers with a. I did this about 2 weeks ago. Scout score of more than 8. Half of them were in the top 100. And the 8 off-scouted receivers are a mixture of slot and X receivers. Bond fills both roles. And wide receiver had the second most players in the top 100, tied with 3 Tech.
Yeah, and I see the most is edge. So I mean, that would you be shocked if they went edge round 1 even?
Yeah, I would think it would be edge, because edge was the most scouted position group, tied with wide receiver.
Okay.
And edge was the top position group for a top 100 player. So a lot of them, there's the most variety, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they could go in the most directions. There's a list. I don't know. That's probably too small to see, but
I can see a couple of them. Shamar Stewart, right? Michael Williams.
Yep.
Jihad Campbell.
Nick Scorton.
Yep. Scorton. Sawyer.
Tuimoloau.
Yep. Tuimoloau. Landon Jackson. I mean, that's been a hot commodity in terms of I know you mentioned earlier, they had a defensive line coach at Arkansas, and a lot of Bills fans have kind of, been talking about Landon Jackson. I feel like 30 would be a bit early for him, in my opinion. But I mean, if you can get him with one of your day 2 picks, I think that would be a great value for him.
Yeah, and I think that's really true. It'd be awesome to get Amos, then get an edge in the second set. It could be Landon Jackson. It could be Tuimoloau.
Another name I know, I believe they had a visit with him today, would be Braden Swinson, right?
Yes, and I think I updated that one. That these are the guys in the edge class that have gotten the most attention. Jack Sawyer, excellent interview, and the kind of player he's sort of that Knox Kincaid, fun kind of guy.
Right.
Tuimoloau, same deal. Nice interview. Jackson, not so much. Jihad Campbell will probably be gone before we are looking at him. But you could do better. You could do better with.
I mean, I see Josiah Stort's got a good score too, and
yes,
I believe he had the highest pass rush win rate out of all the true pass rush sets from the edge rushers in this class, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Oh.
Look at Femi Oladejo here.
Okay.
He's got a 30 visit. Okay. And 2.65 per game, sacks plus tackles for loss per game. I call that getting home. So
I would too.
Stewart and Femi Oladejo got home the most. And look at the number of solo tackles versus FBS opponents. So that to me screams getting home. And that's one of the things he's talked about. Just as a comparison, Greg Rousseau's number for getting home was 1.03.
Oh wow!
Sacks plus tackles for loss. So if you look at that list and say, oh my gosh, look at who we could get that got home the same amount as Rousseau did, and then do you want one from the ACC? Then it's Fadil Diggs. He was one of my pet cats as well.
From Syracuse, correct?
So that's a good one, and I'm glad you brought up edge because that's definitely going to be in the cards. We don't necessarily have to take a safety this year, but I think it would be nice to.
Yeah, especially with how Taylor Rapp plays. He kind of is like a crash dummy, injuring not only himself but his teammates at times. So I feel like, a little insurance for him wouldn't be a bad thing, even though I know we did bring in, I believe, Derek Forrest from Washington as another piece in the safety room. Just kind of another quick follow-up from the receiver point. Would you do you think the Bills take a receiver earlier than round 4? Or do you think that's like round 4 would be like the sweet spot for the receivers? Because I know, you did have Bond with a high interview score and the visits. So, I mean, it seems like they definitely have interest in the position. I know there's a couple other, obviously you already talked about Arian Smith. I forget the guy from Arkansas, the other Arkansas receiver. It's not Andrew Armstrong. It's the other one, but I believe they met with him. So, I mean, there's definitely interest in the position.
So I know who you're talking about, Isaac Tesla.
Thank you.
Tesla. I'm going to say it wrong because of Musk. Anyway,
right.
I haven't even marked that one yet, by the way. He's in for a 30 visit, is he not?
I believe he is. Yes. Let me just.
I think so. Yeah, they said they're meeting with him.
So that becomes a 10, and that becomes bold, and that's that.
Yes, he does have a visit with the Bills. Wow. Correct. Yep.
So now you can see how that fits him in there. Is that there are quite a few players in that late, a day 3 player that played in a veer and shoot kind of system, 6'3", 214 with a 4.38 40.
And one thing I'll say about him is I believe he had 0 career drops and is a plus run blocker. So, I mean, that definitely would play in the Bills offense.
Yeah. He's a Michigan guy, and he's probably even seen snow.
There you go. You need receivers that can play in the snow.
He also, it seemed to me from what I was reading that Arkansas liked him in the slot, if I'm not mistaken.
So they had him playing as a tall slot, and it's interesting. Dante Thornton of Tennessee, same thing. The two of them played in veer and shoot, and were tall slots in that offense. Dante Thornton is the 6'5" guy, and he's got a score of 11, and Tesla
got some burners too, Thornton.
So I still going to hold out hope that interviews mean something, and that Trey Harris gets a look in that second round if they take a third wide receiver, or if by some miracle he drifts because of his age. So
right, and I think Harris also had some injuries, which maybe that slides him down a little bit too.
Yeah. If you say you got to have 10 receptions against AP ranked teams, Tesla is number 1 in yards per catch versus AP ranked teams. So that's something to think about.
I have a really quick follow up on the wide receivers here. There's a lot of discussions of Kyle Williams and Jaden Higgins. Within the Bill circles. Before it was Jalen Royals. Where do you kind of feel like those are in terms of fits and like where they might end up being? Because you look at how the Bills might want to navigate the first 2 rounds. Wide receiver might fall into the 3rd round, but the Bills don't have a 3rd round pick. So like, are they 3rd round guys, or do you guys think the Bills could try to nab one of those 2 guys, in the 2nd round as as the guys that they feel comfortable taking in the 3rd round?
Yeah. So Jaden Higgins does meet a lot of what they're looking for, except for one thing, and I'm going to sound really, really well, I'm just going to say it. Bean has started to eliminate parts of the Power 5 conferences. You're seeing fewer and fewer visits to Big 12. You're seeing fewer and fewer visits to the AAC. It's almost always SEC, Big 10, and ACC.
Okay.
And it's terrible to see, but look at the AAC and the number of visits.
Yeah, there's almost none.
Pro Day, Shrine, Hula, Shrine, no games. No. Oh, we have one. Justin Olson, a 747 on my board, played in a game that they went to. But you get the point. And if it's an ACC player, then it depends on, how. I think we'll select more Big 10 players and ACC players, especially if it's defense. The ACC players will be the ones that get chosen. We have 9 on our team on defense and 2 on offense that came from the ACC. That's not true of the Big 10. That's more evenly matched. And SEC. Oh, here's Big 12. Not too many players got looks. Savion Williams might be the exception, and he's 6'4". So
big guy.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question on that. I think that the Bills seem to be looking at certain schools, and I put them in order here. Ohio State has a scout score of 15. That was as of a couple of weeks ago now. The players you'd be looking at there: Tyleik Williams, Denzel Burke, and Lathan Ransom. And Clemson actually had a player that went back to school, who was a defensive tackle. The name escapes me now, but he went back to school. So some of the scout score for Clemson had to do with that guy. Anyway, the name will come to me as soon as it's probably 3 a.m. So Syracuse had a scout score of 13, and Fadil Diggs and Aronde Gadsden are important to keep in mind. But I think they like Elijah Clark, and I think they just said that they were going to meet with him. Either that or they just met with him at the Pro Day. And then the other players you can see, I really think that the ones in turquoise are really, really in play. And I'd love it if Jihad Campbell drifted to us, but I know that Fadil Diggs will drift to us. I like Eamon Wari, and I think we'd be making a mistake if we made the safety the first pick. I think he's a generational player. He's the Kyle Hamilton kind of player but for a strong safety, he's almost a perfect match, as is Malachi Starks. But I don't think either of them would be a good first pick because of the needs that we still have, and I expect we'll have when we enter the draft.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, that really is interesting. But I think it's time for me to ask you my own questions, Dean. I've just been sitting here taking in everything that you've said and just been absolutely enjoying just listening, totally not soaking this in for anyone else's listening ability. But what I want to ask you really quickly is, so we obviously know that the Bills' biggest need is pass rush and cornerback. But outside of those positions, what other positions do you believe the Bills are actively looking at, whether it be early at pick 30 or anyone that maybe they could potentially trade up for in round 1? And
Ooh.
I want to add another little twist to the question. If
Okay.
you believe that there's also like a player that the Bills could trade to use to trade up, who do you think would fit that category if they did like someone enough to trade up?
Yeah. You want me to say James Cook, don't you?
I don't necessarily want you to say James Cook because I feel like that's the easy answer.
The Bills spent a whole lot of time looking at running backs, and I think it was so that if they got into a situation where, let's say, Ashton Genty does not go to the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys are sitting there, and Cousin Jera is really, really upset that he didn't get his running back, and he decides he wants to make a trade that will be a splash trade for, Dallas Nation. And I think that would be the guy that would get us probably around 3, which he could then parlay into whatever he wanted with the 2 2s and the 3. He could go and do anything he wanted with that pick. So I think the WTF pick in all of this is going to be a new left tackle.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Too many of them were also looked at, and I don't mean just Anthony Belton, but he would be one of those.
Now,
second, third.
Kind of a follow up on that. Would you think that would mean that Dion would potentially slide inside? Because I know that he's played inside in college, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was one of his positions he played at Temple.
Yeah, I'm thinking chess here. I'm thinking that they're not going to stop Dion from playing and let a 3rd round pick come in. I think what's going to happen is that he will learn
under Dion,
but he'd have to be one of the best 10 linemen
in the draft, right?
In on the depth chart to be there. So I think that's in the cards. And then I would not be shocked if we took a linebacker. And it could be as early. It could be early as Pooh Paul if he got to the hundreds, 109 or something.
Okay.
And we might double up on that and take somebody in day 3 that like Buchanan or Dolick.
I know you mentioned earlier in the show about Henderson or Judkins just kind of back to the point about if Cook was traded, or just, say he plays his final year and they let him walk, who is your best Cook replacement in the draft besides the Ohio State running backs?
Yeah. So the best they could do as a Cook replacement, in my opinion, and I can't say Trevion or Quinshon, I would have to say LeQuint Allen from Syracuse.
Okay.
Best interview, along with Kalel Mullings, who is not the same as Cook.
Sure.
Maybe we don't need the big bruiser type guy, but it's possible that they're looking at somebody that's 205. The two they've paid the most attention to with combine visits were Trevor Etienne, who has some character issues, and then Jordan James, who could be a
From
final
Oregon,
pick.
right?
Say again?
From Oregon, correct?
Yes. So those were the two. They're Jordan James had the better interview. He's a little heavier. He's a little bigger. Not as fast.
Sure. Could you actually pull up the running backs?
Yep.
Just so we could see them.
Yeah. I wish they'd make that. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I did it twice.
No,
I must be over 75. So
all good.
So one of the things I could do here is I've sorted it now for interest. Okay. And you've got Hampton, you've got Mullings, you've got Jordan James. They're all over the place. It's almost like he's got a plan for every round.
Right. Now, is Bice, I know he's a kind of a fan favorite because of his combine performance. What about Beisel Tootin from Virginia Tech?
Yeah, and Beischul.
Sorry, I mispronounced.
No, there he is. So he's one of the fastest.
For sure.
Can't block, and isn't the game breaker that you'd probably want if you were trying to replace Cook. I'm not suggesting that we replace Cook, but
right.
I love
Raheem Sanders.
The guy that Bean went to South Carolina twice. Okay, that's the only school he went to twice. And Rocket Sanders, as your last pick, is not a bad guess.
No, not at all.
That would be a really, really good guess, and he did really well in the games that that Bean saw. That's always nice too.
He's definitely a bigger back too, 6'1".
Yeah. I've heard a lot from the what they call the H backs, Hunter and Hunter and Hampton.
Right.
They call them the H backs. So you got Henderson, Hampton, and we'll find out if they order more H's for jerseys.
Right. I mean, I know you talked about the bigger backs too. Possibly, I see Maffa's got a pretty good score as well.
So that a lot of eyeballs went to him. And if I sort this for blocking ability,
he probably is near the top, I'd imagine, right?
So don't panic. There. So LeQuint Allen, Taj Brooks, also a biggie, and Phil Maffa. And LeQuint Allen and Phil Maffa are the ones that have the high scout scores.
Yeah, because Brooks was another one I kind of was interested in, but I know you said Bean has had less interest in the Big 12.
Yeah.
But I mean, he would be probably maybe like a plan C or something on
right.
With maybe one of those round 6 picks.
Right. If you think about it, you're probably going to bring in at least one more after the draft in preferred free agency.
Right.
So, go for somebody that has high ceiling and good personality. Kalel Mullings from Michigan is a great guess.
He was and if I'm not mistaken, he was a very high performer at the Senior Bowl too. I think he was impressing people there.
Yes, and he has seen snow. So there's so we always kid about that, but am I going to take Ollie Gordon with character issues that's 226 pounds, or am I going to take Kalel Mullings, who's the same weight?
I might be asking too much for this, but I know you have a rating for blocking. Did you have one for pass catching too?
So the I do, but I can't get to it right now.
All right, all good.
But the best pass catcher on this list of the ones that received the most eyeballs is LaQuint Allen.
Okay. So he would probably be the best, because I know that's one of the knocks on Cook that all the Bills fans are saying a reason why he shouldn't get that $15 million that he might want is because he's not a 3-down back, and some of his weaknesses are obviously pass blocking and receiving. So I was just thinking, if we want to do it all back, who can block, catch, it sounds like Allen is probably our guy.
So LaQuint Allen, his receiving, here it is. This year, let's see, last year he had 210 yards and a touchdown through the air with 38 receptions, and then led the he led the ACC this year with 17 touchdowns. He's the nation's leading pass catcher among running backs. There it is. Receiving 476 yards on 61 passes from Kyle McCord. We'll just get Kyle McCord as well. You might
as well. Why not? We need a backup for Josh. So
this is true.
I mean, and I guess when we're on the Syracuse train, what about Aranda Gadsden too?
Yes. So one of the tight ends comes up for free agency, correct? Next year?
Probably Knox, perhaps.
Yeah, I think it is Knox.
Most likely, yeah.
Right, and we did
Kincaid, right. So
this is gonna be Kincaid's third season. But yeah, we also, I believe, Quentin Morris. I mean, obviously we could always bring him back, but he's still a free agent. So I know we have Davidson still on the roster, but
yeah,
I mean, if we were to add a tight end, you like Gadsden?
Yeah, I do, because he's another one of those positionless players. Could be wide receiver, tight end, and very possibly you could cut down the number of players you carry on offense by one.
Sure.
Keep 5 wide receivers. Keep 3.
Where do you have him slotted to go, in the 4th round, 5th round, somewhere around there?
That sounds right. Let me. I think on this one I counted him as a tight end only because it seemed.
Okay, I see. Yeah, 225. So that would probably be around the 6th round maybe.
So the top three in terms of eyeballs were Jake Briningstool, C.J. Dupree, and Aranda Gadsden. Only one is guaranteed to be drafted, and I think that's Briningstool of Clemson. But all 3 very young guys, and Gadsden's interview was great, and he's the fastest of the 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we could definitely use as an athletic tight end, because I feel like Knox definitely fits the bill, but if I was to maybe have a criticism on Kincaid, I don't think he's as fast as I'd like, that seam stretcher, so to say.
That's true. You don't have 456 from any of the guys, I don't think, and you don't have anybody that had a yards per catch versus AP ranked teams of 17.1.
Yeah, that would definitely play.
Downfield advantage kind of thing.
Good red zone target too, right?
Yeah. I don't think we would go Elijah Arroyo.
Sure.
In, let's say, round 3.
Yeah, that might be a little early for tight end, but I mean, I'm just envisioning possibly, you get Coleman and Coleman and Gadsden in the red zone, some versatile pieces to move around for Brady.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be really good.
That'd be wild.
So yeah,
so
Knox was 4.59 in his 40 when he was in college.
So he would be the fastest tight end on the roster.
Correct. That's a good bet. He would not be the biggest, but he would be the fastest. So
one position that's been on and off is safety. You know, in a lot of the mocks I've been seeing, Andrew Makuba being taken a lot. Is he someone that the Bills are really interested in? A guy like Makuba?
Looks like they definitely have interest in him.
Yes. So now this is another position where they are really casting a big net, right? They've got quite a few players here that are 8 or above in scout score. Malachi Moore is the highest strong safety on the board, and Nick Emanwari is the second. Lathan Ransom, who might be available with that 4th Bills pick at 109, would be the third one there. That is played in that 4-2-5. So those probably would be good. Makuba plays a free safety. He's a free safety. Great interview. He's of all these guys, he's not large, but wings can fix that. But look at the score over here that says zone. Okay, he's the best in zone, and he's even better in man.
Okay,
in press man.
So that would definitely be useful.
Yeah, and I think this coach called him a chameleon player, and that's always nice to hear, because that was why Poyer and Hyde worked out so well.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, and I remember hearing that classification.
So you don't know where I'm playing.
That's
and I feel like Bishop, I believe he was scouted as a free safety and drafted to be one, but he also did play very well when he did play in the box last season. So that could be valuable as having 2 versatile safeties in the back end.
That would be huge. That would be huge. And I wouldn't put it past Bishop to also become that kind of player.
Sure. Now, kind of switching gears in the defensive secondary. Obviously, we kind of mentioned Amos earlier, but if the first pick is indeed a defensive tackle / edge, I know you already mentioned a couple other guys in Noel and Burke, but for day 2, do we have scout scores for the other guys? I mean, I see Thomas right there.
Zaria Thomas would be my first guess.
Okay.
And I
how
think
about I had a couple other combine superstars. Oh, I see Maxwell Harrison there. What about Darian Porter? Is he someone that we have any interest in?
Okay, way down here.
Oh, okay. I only see a 7 for him.
Yep. So his problem has been solo tackles per game. Part of it's because they didn't throw to his side.
Right.
Part of it because
which is a good thing.
Big 12. So, so 0.49 is, I think, one of the lowest on the and it's been consistently low in terms of the number of solo tackles per game against FBS opponents.
Right. Now, if you're talking about good solo tackles, I see Zai Alexander is up there with
here I'll put them in order for us. So
perfect.
So O'Donnell Fortune and again, Bean saw 2 games. He's not fast. Zai Alexander is probably the highest on the list here with Jade Barron.
Right, and Barron obviously is a trade-up candidate.
Yeah, I don't know how much it would take to get to around 22, but you also got to wonder, like, what are other teams going to be looking for, right?
Right.
And if I put in CB here, you can see I put the top 5 needs of every
right.
Okay.
All right. So I mean, just kind of looking Indianapolis potentially at 14. That could be early, but I know Indianapolis is also very interested in a tight end. So if Warren is still there by any chance, or Loveland, Pittsburgh obviously, but I mean it's going to be interesting to see what Pittsburgh does because
don't say it.
They need a quarterback right now.
We know what you're going to say. So as a matter of fact, Steelers in the latest draft tech mock had them taking Isaiah Bond.
Oh wow!
I know
that would be so fitting with his character concerns. That is the most fitting Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin pick in the world. With Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I could maybe see. I could possibly see maybe Green Bay, Minnesota, LA, maybe being spots where Barron might go around. So I mean, maybe the Chargers are a team you want to swing a trade with to get ahead of Green Bay and Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's just the thing is, trading with AFC teams is usually a whole lot more complicated because you have a better chance of playing them more often.
Well, they did. If you remember a couple of years ago, they did, and shoot, even last year they traded with Kansas City for the Coleman pick, and for Kincaid they traded with Jacksonville. So I mean, we do have a history of trading with AFC teams. I mean,
true.
Go back to 2018. We traded Corley Glenn to Cincinnati to move up to pick 11. So I mean, Bean hasn't been afraid to do business with the AFC before.
Which is good because you can't be afraid to do business with them, even if they are going to try to maybe raise the price a little bit because of the AFC factor. NFC teams are usually ones that won't necessarily care as much because they won't likely see you until it's the Super Bowl unless they happen to play you. So,
yeah, it seems to me that it'd be a better bet for the Bills to wait and see. I know that sounds hairy, but wait and see who's still available around when these needy teams come up. Falcons, Cardinals, Bengals, Bucks.
Right.
Exactly.
And say, okay, we know that after that, if we're looking for a DT, we have to get ahead of the Seahawks, or who take
Denver too. It looks like
the wonderful thing is that the Bills haven't had much to do with Mike Green, and Mike Green goes to the Chargers in this particular scenario. So if we can get somebody to take Mike Green before us, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
I wonder who that would be.
So that would be there, and then maybe if you trade up with the Bucks, or if you trade up to the Vikings, there's a big difference in how much you'd have to give up. So, in this case, the Vikings took Tyleik Williams, and then Derek Harmon went next. So talk about the DTs flying off the board. Those are and then 2 places in the NFC where they might go.
I think you're right, and I see Barron went right after. So I mean, if the Bills are targeting any of those 3 players, it looks like maybe 22 is the sweet spot for trading up.
That'd be awesome. And let's see. I always keep track this time of year. Where are the where are the Bills traveling in their jets? So as I said, the most recent trips have been to Chicago and Cincinnati. So why they would go to Cincinnati, I don't know. But
that's
definitely not to have that chili,
and definitely not to spy on the Bengals organization like the Patriots did. But
exactly. Well, I've enjoyed doing this. I hope that you guys have.
Yes. Dean, just one quick question. Thank you again for all your time you've given us tonight. As we wrap up, if you were to give your prediction how picks 30, 56, and 62 goes right now, how does that look?
Yeah, I I will show you. I really, really like the one that's in yellow here.
Okay.
It's Tyleik Williams, Princely Uman Milan, TJ Sanders, Dante Thornton.
Okay.
And then it falls apart because I haven't chosen a cornerback. So if I have to choose a cornerback, then I really, really like the light blue here, the turquoise.
Sure.
Going up for Jahdae Barron, taking one of your later picks, take TJ Sanders second, and then you can take somebody like Trevion Henderson or Trey Harris with to make it a fun draft. You need a fun guy. Then take Jamari Caldwell and Malachi Moore. So I think that is more interesting to me. You can do this more than once. You start to make a war chart. Basically,
I love it.
A war chart.
Most people would say name for it.
Harmon, Collins, Stewart is great, but
yeah,
who did you take for corner?
Yeah, that is a big question. Dean, thank you again so much. I know last year you joined us for day 2 on our live stream. I'd love to do that again. So if you're able to, we'd love to have you on to give us, your live reactions and talk draft with you on Friday.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I will check with the chief planner in the house, and
sounds good.
That's why we've been married for 55 years. So
perfect. Well, thank you again, Dean.
There we go.
Thank you for letting us do this. It was fun.
It was very fun and very informative. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys know your stuff. That's why I like coming on.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dean.
Yeah. All right, enjoy.
All right, thank you.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Awesome. Well, Dean is always one of my favorite shows. He's just a book. I mean, he's like more than a book. He's like a series of draft information, like a very long series.
Draft encyclopedia.
Exactly. That's the perfect term, Paul. Thank you for helping me out. But a lot of interesting nuggets too. I know Paul. Yeah. I could see Paul's just gleaming over there when he was talking about receivers. So that definitely got him excited. Connor loved the defensive part. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's kind of
Trey Amos, man.
To me, it's kind of coming together. How the draft will play out. Like I've always been thinking D tackle, but from all the visits and everything and scouted it. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if edge ends up the first pick, or I mean, definitely something early on. I mean, if corner isn't the first pick, Connor, I will say it looks like
I wouldn't be.
Azariah Thomas is a decent option on day 2, which you'd like. I mean, Trey Amos, or sorry, not Amos, Trey Harris. Sorry,
I mean
the other Trey from Ole Miss. I mean, I'm a big fan of Trey Harris. So if we could come away with a stud defensive lineman, I don't care edge or defensive tackle, whoever is the biggest impact player.
Agreed.
On day 1, and then you could get Thomas and Harris. We could be cooking with some gas at that point.
Oh, for sure.
And
I am looking forward to it. Can the draft just get here already?
It definitely needs to. But yeah, I mean, we don't really have time for any of our other stuff, but we'll get to that next week. But honestly, I'd rather have a full hour of Dean instead of a half hour. So he was more than generous with his time. So I'm definitely gonna have to send him a DM and thank him for giving us so much time tonight. And hopefully he is able to join us again during the draft on our live stream. That would be awesome.
No, it would be great.
It really preps us for next week. If you guys are willing to do it, we can do our first mock draft next week. That would
perfect. I'm not, but we kind of did one last week, but yeah, we can do a live draft. I mean, what even we could do is we can just do like every 3 picks or something. We each pick a player if you want to do that way too, and we can just kind of make predictions for like the full first 2 rounds of how everything will go.
That works.
Oh, it would be amazing. Like, I definitely think we should just kind of pool our knowledge together. And Ben, you and I can make sure Paul does not pick a wide receiver in round 1.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take Matthew Golden before he's able to.
Yeah, Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden is going at 21.
No, he's going at pick 10. I'll make sure of it.
Pick
Top
10.
10 pick to Dallas.
Oh my God.
I mean, I could see that being a Jerry type
Dean
pick.
says if Dean did say if Ashton Genty doesn't go to Dallas, the Bills.
The Bills just trade up all the way.
Oh.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. But oh man, I just want the draft to get here. There's so many good talking points this year for a lot of teams, not just the Bills, but specifically the Bills. I'm ready, man. Let's get to the draft.
Let's get to the draft. Great talking, Dean. It was lots of great information. Again, we'll be right back here next week, 7:30. Follow all of us on Twitter. Follow the show on X and YouTube. And with that, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.